Today I woke up feeling really uninspired and unmoored and really disconnected from myself. So I just started grabbing a bunch of books from my bookshelf. A lot of times we go through things that we don't really have words for, and so sometimes having someone else describe it for you and it gives you the feeling of like, oh yeah, that's what I was feeling that I had no idea how to even say. I didn't even realize how much I was obsessed with this book when I read it. I had so many freaking tabs. So, yeah. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. It's about a girl who's just deeply lonely and trying to recover from things that she doesn't think she can recover from. And it creates this deep sense of disconnection from the world around her, which I find very relatable. I think this is a good way to kind of like understand, to put words to feelings that we're having when we're really disconnected. Even if it doesn't heal the feeling, it just brings awareness to it. I really like this one quote from the first few pages of the books where she says, "I do exist, don't I? It often feels as if I'm not here, that I'm a figment of my own imagination. There are days when I feel so lightly connected to the earth that the threads that tether me to the planet are gossamer thin, spun sugar. A strong gust of wind could dislodge me completely, and I'd lift off and blow away like one of those seeds in a dandelion clock." If you have not read this book, I don't know what you're doing with your life. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is, gosh, it's about so many things that I'm like feeling overwhelmed trying to describe it in just a few words because I almost don't even want to tell you what it's about. It's about. I'm feeling called to this pink tab back here. Did you know people get rich off of sadness? I want to meet the millionaire of American sadness. I want to look him in the eye, shake his hand, and say it's been an honor to serve my country. This is my favorite book ever. I want to say I've read it probably 5 times in my life, and every time I read it, I have a new perspective on it, and I also have a new perspective on life and on myself, which is really interesting because the main character is unstuck in time. He's struggling with PTSD, and how that's represented is that he's kind of just moving throughout his life in a non-linear fashion. If you haven't read this book, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Just so many sentences in this book spoke to me in a way. They just like saw me. You know how sometimes a book sees you? And the words just like saw me in a way that I never knew I needed to see myself or understand myself in that way. And I asked myself about the present, how wide it was, how deep it was, how much was mine to keep. Billy's outward listlessness was a screen. The listlessness concealed a mind which was fizzing and flashing thrillingly. It was preparing letters and lectures about the flying saucers, the negligibility of death, and the true nature of time. This book means so much to me. If you haven't read The Bell Jar, let's get with it. Okay, I'm reading a section from the end of The Bell Jar, and the irony and like the sarcasm and the just like abandonment within it that she expresses is so, I have related to it so deeply ever since everything that happened in my life in the past. So Dr. Nolan had said quite bluntly that a lot of people would treat me gingerly, or even avoid me, like a leper with a warning bell. My mother's face floated to mind, a pale, reproachful moon at her last and first visit to the asylum since my 20th birthday. A daughter in an asylum. I had done that to her. Still, she had obviously decided to forgive me. "We'll take up where we left off, Esther," she had said with her sweet martyr's smile. "We'll act as if all this were a bad dream. A bad dream. To the person in the bell jar, blank and stopped as a dead baby, the world itself is the bad dream. A bad dream. I remembered everything. Maybe forgetfulness, like a kind snow, should numb and cover them. But they were part of me. They were my landscape. After reading that, I think of my scars, my external landscape and my internal landscape are so entwined. For a lot of time, I had a lot of people suggest to me that I get my scars removed. It felt so diminishing of like how can I make my body and my appearance be appeasing to you, to the external watcher? But the scars I have are they contain so much pain, and it's still hard for me, even to this day, to look at them. But if I were to remove them, I would be empty. Because pain needs a place to go. That's why I have all these books and things to help me, because I need somewhere to put it. I can't just, if I erased it, it would just be an empty hole. Like when you can't take away pain, you can only use it. You can only use what you have. Because if you took it away, then there would just be an empty space where your shadow is. You can't put good things there. It's either empty space or it's pain, and you have to choose. And I had to choose. I have to choose what makes me who I am. I have to choose my landscape. But also surrender to it, like not choose it, just like accept what you have and use that. I still think about it. I remember closing the book and just staring at the wall for like a long time. I feel like what this book did for me was like help me make sense of things I felt, especially in like social dynamics that I didn't know how to explain. It's very much like, who are you in relation to other people? How do you connect with other people? Because that's such a fundamental part of your identity. And I think that's one of the aspects of my identity that I struggle with the most, is how to connect with people. Cobain's songs described a stifling present, his present. It was strange to imagine that the anguish, which defined his reality, carried well into the future, beyond his life, so that we could share in it, adopt it as our own. It's interesting because this author is talking about like Kurt Cobain at the time of his death, and like that's how he related to Kurt Cobain, and like that's how like that artist kind of, that art affected his life at the time and the death. And I feel that same way now. I'm a huge Kurt Cobain fan. But like I've always felt this strange relationship to like his lyrics. I don't care if you can see through me, I wrote, confessing to a list of imperfections and insecurities, just as long as you can see me. When you push it down, when you go to kill memory, it finds its ways to haunt you. You must read this book. The way this author writes is it takes my breath away. That's all I can even say. I'm lost in wordlessness. To give you an example. That you don't know, that you can't know, that the only thing you do know is that this means you have to believe if you expect to stand a chance at doing more than surviving. And this belief, despite not knowing, this belief because you can't know, it is the reason the story has to be lived in order to be told. It is the song being sung and the dancer in midair. It is the child with miles and years of hard road ahead, running up a paved street at top speed with no shoes on, feeling she must outrun even the running, feeling she has already overcome gravity, feeling with her feet the kind of victory belief alone can claim, and so feeling she is absolutely about to lift off the ground, to take flight. That, makes me want to cry again just reading that passage. Okay, I want to read this quote because it's interesting. It basically exactly sums up the way I was talking about wordlessness and how there's sometimes you feel things, most days you feel things that there's not a name for. He wanted a better word for it all. He'd always wanted better words for what it felt like to live and to suffer and to love it all so recklessly as to hate how it couldn't love you back the same. I think this quote perfectly sums up what I'm going through right now, and maybe what I've always been going through, and maybe life in general. Maybe we're all looking for our bottoms and tops in search of balance, where the loop feels just right, and like it's not just rote, not just repetition, but a beautiful echo, one so entrancing we lose ourselves in it. My Angelou, you were going to be my last book, but first, let's pull out this book. This book is so beautifully written. This is being told through the narrative of a man looking back on his childhood. If the grown-up version of me could have one chance at walking backwards into this story, part of me wishes I could sit down on the back pew with that pissed-off kid in his overly tight church clothes and dark hawk attitude and tell him, "You think you're giant, but you are such a small speck in the screwed-up world. This is not about you." I have so much of this book underlined, it's crazy. Okay, I have so much of this page underlined, so I'm just going to read what I have underlined, but it's kind of like choppy pieces of this whole passage. I was born to wish for more than I can have. But where did it come from, this wanting disease? From how I got born, or the ones that made me, or the crowd I ran with later? Everybody warns about bad influences, but it's these things already inside you that are going to take you down. The restlessness in your gut, like tomcats gone stupid with their blood feuds, prowling around in the moon-dead dark. The hopeless wishes that won't quit stalking you. Some perfect words you think you could say to somebody to make them see you and love you and stay. Some people never want like that. No reaching for the bottle, the needle, the dangerous pretty face, all the wrong stars. What words can I write here for those eyes to see and believe? For the lucky, it's simple. Like the song says, this little light of mine. Don't let Satan blow it out. Look further down the pipe, see what's coming, ignore the damn tomcats, quit the dope. I'm gonna read this passage because I really like it, and I think you'll appreciate it. There's this thing that happens. Let's say at school, where a bunch of guys are in the bathroom, at the urinal, laughing about some dork that made an anus of himself in gym. You're all basically nice guys, right? You know right from wrong, and would not in a million years be brutal to the poor guy's face. And then it happens. The dork was in the shitter. He comes out of the stall with this look. He heard everything, and you realize you're not really that nice of a guy. This is what I would say if I could. To all smart people of the world with their dumb hillbilly jokes, we are right here in the stall. We can actually hear you. The wonder is that you could start life with nothing, end with nothing, and lose so much in between. Okay. I had some books over here that I don't think I'm going to include because I don't have like a perfect passage to include. And also, like, yeah, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. But if you're interested in what they are, this book changed my life. Got some Emily Dickinson poetry. We got some Alan Watts ideas. And of course, the one and only Metamorphosis. And other stories by Franz Kafka. But yeah, I'm personally referring to the Metamorphosis. Now, the main event. This book is everything to me. It's just everything. It's just everything. I don't know what I'm going to pull from it yet, but it's just... I don't think I stopped crying once reading this book, and it's just absolutely breathtaking the way Maya Angelou writes. I can't even... I just can't. It was the same old quandary. I had always lived it. There was an army of adults whose motives and movements I just couldn't understand, and who made no effort to understand mine. This may be just my favorite thing I've ever read. Okay, I might need to set the scene a little bit. Maya's about 11 at this time, and she finds herself... I forget exactly what this is after, but she finds herself sitting next to this girl named Louise, who she hadn't really ever talked to before. This was after she was sexually abused, like 3 years before this. Louise was a lonely girl, although she had plenty of playmates and was a ready partner for any ring game in the schoolyard. Her face, which was long and dark chocolate brown, had a thin sheet of sadness over it, as light but as permanent as the viewing gauze on a coffin. And her eyes, which I thought her best feature, shifted quickly, as if what they sought had just a second before eluded her. She had come near, and the spotted light through the trees fell on her face and braids in running splotches. I had never noticed before, but she looked exactly like Bailey. Her hair was good, more straight than kinky, and her features had the regularity of objects placed by a careful hand. She looked up. Well, you can't see much sky from here. Then she sat down, an arm away from me. Finding 2 exposed roots, she laid thin wrists on them, as if she had been in an easy chair. Slowly she leaned back against the tree. I closed my eyes and thought of the necessity of finding another place and the unlikelihood of there being one, with all the qualifications that this one had. There was a little peal of scream, and before I could open my eyes, Louise had grabbed my hand. I was falling. She shook her long braids. I was falling in the sky. I liked her for being able to fall in the sky and admit it. I suggested, let's try together, but we have to sit up straight on the count of 5. Louise asked, want to hold hands, just in case? I did. If one of us did happen to fall, the other could pull her out. After a few near tumbles into eternity, both of us knew what it was. We laughed at having played with death and destruction and escaped. Louise said, let's look at that old sky while we're spinning. We took each other's hands in the center of the clearing and began turning around, very slowly at first. We raised our chins and looked straight at the seductive patch of blue. Faster, just a little faster, then faster, faster yet. Yes, help, we were falling. Then eternity won, after all. We couldn't stop spinning or falling until I was jerked out of her grasp by greedy gravity and thrown to my fate below. No, above, not below. I found myself safe and dizzy at the foot of the sycamore tree. Louise had ended on her knees at the other side of the grove. This was surely the time to laugh. We lost, but we hadn't lost anything. First, we were giggling and crawling drunkenly toward each other, and then we were laughing out loud uproariously. We slapped each other on the back and shoulders and laughed some more. We had made a fool or a liar out of something, and didn't that just beat all? In daring to challenge the unknown with me, she became my first friend. After all, girls have to giggle. And after being a woman for 3 years, I was about to become a girl. This is towards the end of the book. To be left alone on the tightrope of youthful unknowing is to experience the excruciating beauty of full freedom and the threat of eternal indecision. Few, if any, survive their teens. Most surrender to the vague but murderous pressure of adult conformity. It becomes easier to die and avoid conflicts than to maintain a constant battle with the superior forces of maturity. I hope those passages made you feel something. They made me feel something, and I think that's all I was looking for. Because feeling is better than not feeling, no matter what the feeling is. If you liked this video, let me know. What book changed you? Tell me in the comments. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so grateful. I love you.